There is actually one episode where we can see what Xander could be if he was written better. In Season 3, Episode 13, The Zeppo, aka the Xander episode. Yes, there is one episode that is 100% completely devoted to Xander. And somehow, it's one of the best episodes in the show.
The one thing Cosmo illustrated is the fact he is an inept, disingenuous idiot. Anyway, the Zeppo is indeed a Xander-centric episode. Let's see how Cosmo misreads everything.
At the beginning of this episode, Xander gets bullied by some random guy, and Cordelia takes the opportunity to make fun of him for being a useless coward that nobody likes. This is justified because he did cheat on her. It's one of the few times a character is honest with Xander about his flaws.
Integral part of the group? Xander, you're the useless part of the group. You're the Zeppo.
This confrontation sends Xander into a spiral. He tries to find anything that could make him seem more cool.
I mean, you yourself, Oz, are considered more or less cool. Is it about the talking? You know, the way you tend to express yourself in short, non-committal phrases?
Could be.
He does get bullied after bumping into Jack. Cordelia berates him, and he does not retort as he once would have. Cordelia being justified as he cheated on her with Willow mere episodes ago. This is not one of the few times a character is honest with him. In fact, this episode starts with the fight against an evil sisterhood wishing to bring forth the end of the world. After this battle, while the others are mostly unscathed, Xander is hurt, nearly being killed in the process, and the team worries for him, suggesting he stays back as he tends to throw himself into the fray without any consideration for himself. Following the interaction with Cordelia, he evaluates his place not only within the team, but also personally, as everyone around him is settling into their roles and expressing themselves clearly, while he has been in limbo since his breakup with Cordelia.
He borrows his uncle's car to try and upgrade his coolness status, but nobody seems impressed. During all of this, Buffy and the other important characters discover a generic, reality-shattering evil that they have to defeat for the episode. This new apocalyptic evil force is barely described to us. It's almost comedic how little elaboration we get outside of, "It will be the end of all things." It's just an excuse for the main characters to be too busy to bother with Xander's nonsense. The other characters care so little about Xander in this episode that they send him to go get donuts while they're saving the world. But this is where his adventure begins.
First off, this is a minor point, but he rents the car. Worth note because he is paying his uncle to use the car instead of borrowing it. Him wanting to upgrade his coolness status is true because he was looking for the one thing he has that makes him stand out, coming to this conclusion. The storyline with Xander originates at the inception of the apocalyptic event in this episode. As such, the end of the world in this episode is not an excuse to get the characters away from him, rather a sobering moment where they realize how vulnerable he is in times like this. In addition, what is shown throughout the episode is the fact they care for him, all the more so because he was nearly killed during the opening. They get him to go get donuts for multiple reasons. He is often the one to get the team food when they stay in the library researching. He tries his best, but knows he is the least equipped in being useful here unless it is related to something in the real world.
I couldn't get close enough to see what it was.
Calax Research and Development. It's a computer research lab. Third largest employer in Sunnydale till it closed down last year. When I can't have information sometimes.
And they are trying to get him away from the danger in an effort to protect him. As the rest of the group tackles an evil sisterhood threatening to destroy the world, or feminism, describing it as generic is odd. The episode provides enough information to piece together the events while following Xander in his adventure through Sunnydale with the undead gang. It shows the progression of a regular episodic arc from the perspective of someone outside the events, highlighting how serious things are. This contrast makes clear how out of his depth he is as the only one without any specific ability to help him fight, yet continues to help regardless.
While he's out buying donuts, it turns out him getting a new car actually worked. A hot girl shows up and thinks that his car is really cool. It seems like the universe is rewarding Xander for doing absolutely nothing. But he quickly realizes that this girl is really shallow and boring. This is satisfying to see as a Xander hater. It's always a good day when Xander's being punished for being a doofus.
It's best you stay out of harm's way. But I can help!
Hey, you wanna go for another drive?
When he's trying to leave the club with the car girl, he accidentally crashes into the bully from earlier. Before he can get his ass kicked, a cop shows up and Xander gets the cop to back off, which makes him seem cool to the psychotic bully.
An attractive woman does take an interest in Xander and the car, a tale as old as time.
It's the car, right? Chicks love the car.
He took the initiative to try something new and change an aspect of himself in a manner he considers to be an improvement. However, this is coupled with the "be careful what you wish for" angle, as she is only interested in the car. A small reward for the effort, but a warning from the universe that the direction of change is not accurate. Also, she is not shallow and definitely not boring. She knows more about cars than most guys. At this point, it is likely Cosmo calls anyone who has an interest he does not share shallow and boring, because it is easier than recognizing others know things he does not. A conversation between her and Kaylee from Firefly would be riveting, because two people with a mutual interest are engaging in conversation. Cosmo finding Xander being bored by this conversation enjoyable is fine. You go feel exactly how you want to feel. When leaving the Bronze to go on another drive, he crashes into the car Jack was attempting to steal, and things escalate to the point Xander's life is threatened. A policeman intervenes, and not wanting to cause any more trouble and hoping Jack would leave him alone, tells the policeman there is no trouble. This earns Xander some respect from Jack, who decides to take him along to raise his friends from the dead.
The bully guy then gets Xander to help him pick up his boys so they can all party. Turns out, his boys are zombies, and they decide to drag Xander along for their zombie rampage through the city. If you haven't noticed the theme, the episode basically centers around characters finally considering Xander to be cool, and he is promptly punished for it. This episode leans into the lovable loser aspect a little bit more and relies less on Xander telling jokes and being cringy.
Once the gang has been brought back, they keep Xander close, not allowing him to get away, and Xander tries not to do anything that might lead them to hurt him. This is not a punishment for him wanting to be cool, rather an extreme example of where he would end up if he does not stand up for himself. In prior episodes, he is able to face those who disparage his friends despite his fear, yet rarely does he stand up for himself, and this situation forces him to do so. Finally, there is no opportunity for him to tell jokes as he is surrounded by people he is uncomfortable with.
In this episode, Xander is just letting the plot happen to him. The entire time, he doesn't have any time to tell jokes or make snarky quips. He's too busy trying to figure out how to bail on these guys and go back to his friends. This wacky series of events leads to him being saved by Faith, Buffy's edgy counterpart. She's basically Buffy's Vegeta. That's really all I need to say.
Does he mean Xander is a passenger in the episode where he is made to do what others want? That the narrative is bending him to do things he otherwise would not, thereby breaking the narrative integrity of the yarn? That things are happening while he, as a character, has no agency and is reacting to the events? At the start of the episode, he is trying to figure out what makes others cool. And in the final third of the episode, he is confronting the undead gang and tries to stop them from blowing up the school, being active in 2/3 of the episode. Xander is not a Phase 4 and 5 Marvel caricature. He is a character who, over the past 3 seasons, has been developed and progressed to be who he is. There are instances where he is far more serious than many in the team, often when they are all in potential danger, as shown by Season 2 Episode 18, Killed by Death, where he stays at the hospital round the clock so he could protect Buffy from Angel while she recovers from her illness and face the demon killing the children there. There is another clip of Cosmo actively lying and manipulating the events of the episode.
This wacky series of events leads to him being saved by Faith, Buffy's edgy counterpart. This leads to him being saved by Faith.
Let's look at what actually happened. Faith is fighting and getting overpowered by an angry feminist to the point her shoulder is dislocated. Seeing her, Xander, while driving away from the undead gang, runs over the demon and rescues Faith, driving her to her motel. Faith is a second Slayer. To go through things chronologically, when Buffy was killed by the Master in Prophecy Girl, another Slayer was awakened, Kendra, who was introduced in Season 2 Episode 9, What's My Line, Part 1. After a rocky start, she develops a friendship with Buffy and returns to help the gang stop the apocalypse that Angelus is trying to bring in Season 2 Episode 21, Becoming Part 1, where she is killed by Drusilla during the vampire attack on the library, hurting Willow and Xander while kidnapping Giles in the process. This led to the awakening of Faith as a Slayer. who is quite wild and at times is an antagonist in both Buffy and Angel until she overcomes her demons and becomes a hero.
By pure happenstance, Xander and her end up sleeping together, and it's not even seen as Xander getting rewarded for anything. It's just another one of the crazy things that happened to him today. He doesn't even have time to enjoy it.
That was great. I got a shower.
In this episode, Xander is really just a victim of circumstance. He's not rude or misogynistic. He started the episode with a pretty normal and understandable goal, and it kind of just went out of control.
Faith has at multiple points expressed how she gets aroused whenever she goes on the hunt. In fact, this is one of the first things we learn about her.
Isn't it crazy how slaying just always makes you hungry and horny? Well, sometimes I crave a non-fat yogurt afterwards.
In addition, she has expressed to Buffy how she uses guys to scratch the itch and discards them immediately after.
Eventually I just had to face up to my destiny as a loser magnet. Now it's strictly get some, get gone.
As Xander was the closest to her at this point in time, she uses him. This is not a reward for Xander. His first sexual experience is of him getting used and tossed out. Then again, he's a guy, so who cares? Moving on. He is often rude when people are rude to him. And he is not misogynistic. He just gives as good as he gets. In fact, he often expresses how much he looks up to the women around him. Buffy in particular.
Let me tell you something. When it's dark and I'm all alone and I'm scared or freaked out or whatever, I always think, what would Buffy do? You're my hero.
And it's very easy for us to see ourselves in his position. This is the relatable aspect of the character that usually goes forgotten in every other episode. And during all of this, the cuts back to the main group are so overdramatic, but it's played for laughs here.
Buffy, this is worse than anything we've ever faced. I love you.
Don't talk to me like that. Okay, this is my fight. And if you won't do it my way, then you're...
Hey. Okay.
This relatable aspect of the character is continually brought up. Cosmo is likely talking about his imagined version of Xander from the Buffy show. He hallucinated. Also, the plot of the main group is consistent with the usual threats they face. The only difference is that Xander is the one on the outside because they are conscious of the fact he was nearly killed in the previous encounter, and wants to keep him at a distance to protect him. It highlights the desperation of the characters from the perspective of someone who is ordinarily a part of the main drama, accentuated when he meets Willow, where she treats the moment as if it were a final goodbye for fear she may not see him again, prompting him to take control of the situation and confront the undead gang head-on, wanting to return to being as useful as he can be to his friends, even if it goes against their wishes.
This episode's very good at pointing out the absurdity of the entire series, but it's because it's from Xander's perspective. He's the regular guy after all. He's supposed to be the one that we can relate to. While the main group is fighting a world-ending eldritch threat, Xander's literally down the hall doing shit that doesn't really matter. And it's actually hilarious. This is how the show should be writing their comic relief character. But really what's awesome about it is that Xander defeats the villain of his little side story by using the one superpower he does have. Courage. Because at the beginning of the episode, he asks the question we've already asked before. Why is Xander scared of bullies?
What would be considered absurd? That Buffy takes place in a world where things occur that could never happen in real life? That the very things happening within the context of the world is absurd? Any show can be absurd depending on how one looks at it. For example, the fragrant flower blooms with dignity is absurd because it portrays a girl earnestly liking a guy. He tries to be funny because, as discussed, it is his coping mechanism for dealing with the trials in his life, both in enduring his family, where he would rather spend Christmas sleeping on the lawn to avoid the family fighting, and facing the many horrors drawn to the Hellmouth. This is one of the many instances where Xander was courageous in the show. However, there is also a disregard for his own life, emphasized by his friends asking him not to carelessly throw himself into the fray. This comes from an intense lack of self-worth related to how his family treats him and being the weakest here, without powers or intelligence, overcompensating his actions due to the lack he perceives in himself, demonstrated by the standoff with Jack as seconds are left on the bomb. There is courage, but it also shows how little he values his own life, happy to give it up if it means protecting his friends.
He's experienced way worse. And at the end of this episode, he shows us that he's not scared of bullies anymore. He's over that shit. The best thing about this episode is that it shows what a good version of Xander's character would look like if he was written like this all the time. It's almost like he's a different person. I don't really know why that is. It might be because this episode is written by a person who didn't really write any other Buffy episodes. And when the episode ends, the group doesn't really care about what happened to him. Normally, in any other episode, when Xander is ignored, he makes a massive fucking deal about it. But in this episode, by the end of it, he doesn't care that people ignore him.
This can be explained by using Season 1 Episode 10, Nightmares, where Sunnydale is inundated by the physical manifestations of the nightmares people have, whether it be spiders, a bad hair day, or going on stage while not knowing the lines. Xander is confronted by a clown because he had a bad childhood memory of one, something Willow makes fun of him for.
Oh yeah, when the clown chased you and you got so scared that you had...
During this episode, he is chased through the school and realizing he is not the scared child he was, knocks out the clown, overcoming his fears. This is a miniature version of the arc he goes through in the Zeppo. The show has illustrated he is afraid of bullies, because he was bullied growing up, but would stand up to them if his friends' reputations are brought into question, though is far less concerned when facing supernatural creatures, because it is a threat he encountered when he was an adolescent and had the ability to fight back with the help of his friends. Finally, Xander is not ignored. The group are marinating on the events that transpired the previous night, letting it all sink in. This often happens at the end of the episode when some or all of the characters speak about what happened and how it affected them, positively or negatively. In Xander approaching them, Willow expresses she is glad he was nowhere near as the threat may have killed him like he nearly was at the start of the episode. Understanding it all, he saw no need to burden them with what happened on his end, and gives them the space they need to process everything, offering to get them something as he often does. This highlights his maturity, and reinforces the idea he is capable of confronting such evils and surviving. His maturity in particular has been on display many times till now. For example, when he put aside his jealousy and hatred towards Angel to help Buffy look for the reason why he had returned from hell.
So we'll help him.
Where do we start? Look, I'm aware I haven't been the mostest best friend to you when it comes to the whole Angel thing. And, I don't know, maybe I finally got the Hanukkah spirit.
He knows the shit he went through yesterday, and he doesn't have to prove anything to anyone. It's insane that this is the only time we see this version of the character. Because after this, he goes right back to being annoying. When this episode started, I was like, oh my god, this is an entire Xander episode. But when it ended, I was like, wait, I actually like that episode. Maybe the guy who wrote this one just knew how Xander should work. I don't know what it is, but this episode single-handedly shows me that if Xander was like this in the rest of the show, I would probably like him a lot more.
We have gone through a fair few examples of Xander throwing himself into the fold. In fact, he saves each of the main group at least once in Season 1 alone, and often does not draw attention to these acts, instead tries to make a humorous comment. As such, this is not the only instance the viewer is shown this aspect of Xander. If anything, it is one of the only times where it is made the focus of the episode, where in others it is in the background. The writer of this episode is not the only one who knew what to do to make Xander work, because he develops and progresses in an organic manner that maintains a good level of consistency, showing the team of writers are on the same page regarding the characters in the show.
Honestly, the main thing I hate about Xander isn't his excessive horniness, it isn't his bad jokes, it's the fact that he is dragging down an otherwise great show. In a show where I'd say just about every other main character is amazing, he stands out for the sole fact that he's not. And it means a lot that despite all of this shit, Buffy the Vampire Slayer is so good that for me it overshadows any of the otherwise insufferable elements.
Cosmo is characteristically incorrect. Xander is a wonderfully written character with great virtue and crippling flaws, and is as well written as anyone else in the show, complementing the collection of characters and enhancing the quality of the show that much more as a result.
Yeah, I may have spent a really long time now harping on how much I hate this one character, but in the grand scheme of things, he doesn't make up that much of the show. There's like 100 hours of Buffy total, and I think Xander makes up like 10% of that. And while Xander is my most hated character in any show, I'd say this show also contains multiple characters that I would put on my list of favorite characters in all of television. This is no exaggeration when I say I honestly believe Buffy Summers herself might be the best written female character I've ever seen on a TV show.
Yes, Xander is in a proportional amount of the show, and Buffy is indeed a well-written character. It only took till the end of the video, but we finally found common ground.
She might need a video all on her own. And really, every other non-Xander character is likable. Every person I've talked to has a different ranking of their top favorite Buffy characters. This is mine in case you were wondering. So yeah, I can overlook one bad character when there's so much more to appreciate in the show. I can still enjoy Buffy despite the fact that it has my least favorite character of all time in it. And that should say a lot. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, maybe I would recommend Buffy the Vampire Slayer. You should watch it. Just pretend Xander doesn't exist.
Hey guys, man, where you been? You gotta find Buffy. She's going to her place and stop that. That guy just bugs me.
That was a hideous video. It's fascinating how much of Buffy is missing, ignored, misunderstood, misrepresented, and outright imagined by Cosmo. His ideas and analysis are hollow and are about as deep as a drop of sweat on the floor. None of the points related to Xander are correct. And this video is a hit piece constructed because Cosmo did not like a character. This video should be watched and studied by all who wish to make videos as an example of what not to do when constructing any argument related to any piece of media. While Cosmo has the ability to recognize what happens on screen and regurgitate it, occasionally, he lacks the ability to properly understand what, why, and how something is happening. Which is not great when your profession is as a critic of media, but makes him perfect for toilet paper like The Hollywood Reporter, Variety, or Deadline.